The crime was Billy lied to investors, told them whatever he had to tell them to raise money, which is a terrible fucking thing. I don't know why he would do that, because we had a great thing going, and I believe that we could have grew this thing and it would have been an amazing company.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Let's just address the elephant in the room. Fyre Festival.
Big elephant.
It's a big elephant. Fyre Festival has been heralded as one of the most talked about events of all time, one of the biggest festivals that never happened. There's been documentaries. How many of you in this room have seen the documentaries, whether it's Netflix or Hulu? Look, every single person, just about. Have you seen the documentaries?
I haven't.
No.
You guys beat me to it. I haven't seen it. Yeah.
So there's been documentaries, news coverage, social media coverage. And you know, what I really want to know, Ja, is from a marketing standpoint, what made Fyre Festival so appealing to the masses?
That's crazy, because the thing that made it so appealing is probably the thing that blew it up. You know, it was the FOMO of it all, the fear of missing out. You know, the whole, just, it was such a big event. It was more of based on the event, what was happening, what was going on, than the actual performances. It was the whole hoopla of it all. You know, social media. You know, people want to be a part of something. People want to be cool. And that's what Fyre Festival gave to the everyday guy. It gave them that feeling of, you know what, I can be cool with this whole in crowd, and be a part of that all going to this festival. And I think that's what really, really sold the festival.
Now, you mentioned FOMO before. So FOMO, otherwise known as fear of missing out. You described that individuals were signing up to go to Fyre Festival because they wanted to be a part of this larger-than-life experience in the Bahamas, 2 weekends. But it all started with an orange tile.
Yeah.
So speak to whose creative genius was it to take a handful of influencers and throw them on an island and then put on Instagram this orange tile to then drive awareness and sales for the event?
Well, see, the orange tile came about, it's something I had seen on Instagram many a times. Like, people do like blackouts on Instagram, they do whiteouts, these different, like, you know, promotional things. So I was like, it would be cool if we did like an orange out, if you would. And you know, we just, you know, take this little orange tile and put it up on the thing, and then everybody else's juices started kicking in on the idea. And they got to the idea, the point of, you know, well, let's get every influencer, and you know, it was my idea too, you know, let's get every influencer that has 1 million followers or more to post this orange tile on a specific day and time. And so if you're scrolling up your Instagram feed at that specific day and time, which everybody probably would have been around, you know, whatever, you've seen this orange tile from all of the biggest influencers on Instagram. It made people feel like, what the fuck is this? All of my favorite people that I follow just put up this orange thing. What is this thing? And I think the mystery of it all too is what makes people gravitate towards things like that. You know, there was another great promotion that I seen that I, you know, kind of was intrigued by and said, this is a kind of way we can go too, was Jay-Z's promotion of 444. When he put out the album 444, all you seen everywhere in New York City, if anybody's from New York, was 444. So everybody's like, what the fuck is 444? So that kind of was stuck in my mind. I want everybody to look at the orange tile and say, well, what the hell is this orange tile? And so that was the overall idea of marketing that particular, you know, orange idea to the masses and through social media.
So my key takeaway from just watching how things unfolded on social media and then the documentaries, and I kind of alluded to this during my talk before, that people are brands today. Like people can easily be swayed by what another human being, like in this case, an influencer with millions of followers,
Yeah.
posting an orange tile led to credit card swipes.
Yeah.
So what I see that came out of this was Fyre Festival as a marketing culture taught us the perils of influencer marketing and how to go viral.
Yeah.
So whatever way you want to look at, the positives, being it drove attention. The downside, obviously, being more of like on an operational and organizational sense.
Yeah.
The business side, the festival actually didn't come to fruition. So
Right.
what were the key learning lessons specifically around working with influencers?
Well, what I learned about the whole situation is, they can be used in an amazing way. They do certain influences, the right influences, they do move the needle. And that's what I learned. I remember, Billy wanting to give Kendall $250,000 for a tweet. And I'm like, Billy, that's just ridiculous. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Why would you, invest that kind of money into that? Trust me. She's the biggest thing. I didn't.
Woo!
You see what happens when you talk about Kardashians? I didn't know the impact of that kind of influence. I didn't know a tweet could be, or Instagram post could be so influential, so big. But lo and behold, paid her the money, and she, tweeted it out, and the next day it was more than it was already being talked about. It was the most talked about thing. It was the FOMO event. It was, this, that, and the third. It was ticket sales moved differently. It was that whole thing. So it was really, really crazy, like how that one tweet made people, jump and say, I want to be at this event.
Now, kind of expanding on what you said, like you mentioned Billy before, Billy McFarland being your partner in this event. Mm-hmm. And I want to get to partnerships here in a moment, because I think a lot of us, we find partners and we get really excited, and then, like in your case, the partnership doesn't work out. But from my standpoint, he was actually a great marketer. Just seeing things kind of how they unfolded from a consumer's point of view and what was portrayed to us.
Yeah.
But as jarule, what, if you could speak to the audience about some of the misconceptions about jarule, like what would you say from your standpoint that the public doesn't necessarily know?
I really don't know what the public knows. I didn't watch the docs. I just get all of the feedback from, my social media feeds and stuff like that, and a lot of it I feel is, unwarranted, because I think people don't understand the situation and the role I actually played in the situation. My biggest role is I'm a creative, first and foremost. I love to create, and I came to, a guy with amazing visions, amazing ideas that let me just put this in proper perspective for everybody here, or anybody that's maybe a creative in the room. It is one thing to create and have great ideas. It's another thing to bring those ideas to life. So I've met lots of people in my life that I've given ideas to, and they've said, these are amazing ideas, Ja, I can raise money, we can do this, we can do that. Never happened. When I met Billy, he was the first dude that I gave these ideas, these visions to, and he actually started raising the money. Now, granted, that was the crime, and that's what I want everybody to understand. The crime was Billy lied to investors, told them whatever he had to tell them to raise money, which is a terrible fucking thing. I don't know why he would do that, because we had a great thing going, and I believe that we could have grew this thing and it would have been an amazing company. Fast forward, he did that. So, that to me is that's the misconception of this whole thing. I think people think that the festival itself was the crime. Like, we sat in a room together and said, we're gonna scam everybody out of their money for this festival. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. What's the end game for Ja Rule? or anybody, for that matter. So I want people to understand that the festival was actually we tried to put on the festival, failed miserably, but it was an attempt to do something way out different that was never done before, and we didn't have the right partners. I didn't have the right partners. I didn't have the right people, and sometimes that happens in business. And I think most business people understand that. I'm sure you guys understand that. Every business doesn't blow up in your face to this magnitude. It doesn't get played out in media and everybody gets to see your mistakes and the things that happen. I had a great talk with Mark Cuban, and he was just telling me about his things that he went through early in his career that I knew nothing of the fuck about. And I'm like, yo, I thought I knew Mark. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, your failures get to play under the radar. A lot of times. A lot of times you get the door slammed in your face and that's between you and the door. Not so much when you're jarule. When you're jarule and you jump on a venture or you spearhead something or you have a vision for something and it has your name on the marquee, when it goes belly up, it's all jarule.
You mentioned, though, team. So I know this just from our interactions. Jarule wasn't putting on Fyre Festival.
Yeah.
Right? You were a
big team involved.
You were a partner in the event, right? But you personally weren't the one that was putting on the event. You had a marketing team behind you.
We had a
marketing agency.
There's a lot of people that were hired to do a lot of things, and but it is what it is. I wish. What I want people to get from Fyre is to learn, a learning experience. Like I learned big time from Fyre what not to do going into my next business ventures, what good things to do going into my next business ventures, because everything that we did in Fyre wasn't bad. There were some great things that were done on the marketing side and stuff like that. But it was a great learning experience for me and anybody that watched this fiasco unfold. I hope that you took something from it and learned something from it as well, because don't think that these things can't happen to you. Don't think that you can't meet a guy and they be very charming and you give them your sweat equity, your time, your money, whatever it may be, and it doesn't turn out to be what you thought it was. I mean, I watched the Elizabeth Holmes documentary. She was very fucking convincing, and she was playing with people's lives. You understand? We were throwing a festival, So I just be careful when you get into these business ventures. I think even watching the Elizabeth Holmes thing, I think these people start out with good intentions to do the right thing, and somewhere along the line they get, they get muddied.
Would you say it's greedy?
I don't know if it's greed. I don't know if it's greed as much as it is them trying to prove that they can do something that no one else has done. You know what I'm saying? That euphoria of power, like.
I say greed in the sense because like
the Steve Jobs thing.
Okay.
You understand? Where everybody knows Steve Jobs' story, and everybody knows how he had to push through and make it happen when people just didn't think it was going to happen. The computer, what are you talking about? You didn't put them in everyone's homes, and he became one of the greater inventors of our time. So there's so many inventors out there, so many creatives out there that love jobs and they love these stories, and they try to push through, they try to push forward. When the impossible is set into the stratosphere, they say, well, we can push past the impossible. This is the thought process of people that create, people that are inventors. These are things that the world has never seen before, that they think they're creating, and so sometimes they think they can push and do things that maybe not possible.
I want to go back to addressing the team aspect, specifically because we have individuals in this room that run agencies.
Yeah.
They either work at an agency or they own an agency, and then they work with their clients, being brand partners, and oftentimes the agency's making decisions on behalf of the client.
Right.
And or the client is telling the agency, like, look, we're going to do this campaign or we're going to do this festival. In your case, and this is how this is going to play out, and the client's just like, great, like I'm cutting you a check, I'm paying you to do your job. So like, how much of the blame would you cast of what happened at Fyre Festival on the marketing agency that you guys are working with?
I don't know where to cast blame. It's hard to say who's, responsible. There's so many ways you can point fingers, and $20 million was spent, so something like that. 20 some odd $million was spent to try to put on this festival. So there's a lot of money out there that went to a lot of different hands, and so there's, of course, other people that you can point fingers at, but I don't like to do that. I'm gonna keep the blame here with me because I'm the person I got to deal with. I'm the guy that I have to look at in the mirror. And so for me, I have to say I should have been more on top of it. I should have been more hands-on. I should have been, like we talked about this last night. I'm Monday morning quarterbacking this thing right now because at the time while I'm in the fight, there wasn't much that I could have done to whatever. But looking back on it, you wish that you could have done more, and I feel like if I would have gave more of an effort to do more, I could have probably, prevented some of these things from happening. But the reality is, it probably wasn't.
One of the things that you said to me last night was knowing your audience, which I believe is critical. And I said that when I was on stage earlier. First of all, you have to know who you're trying to sell to in order to sell, and then you have to know what social networks to reach them on in order to sell them on those networks. So like, whether it's Fyre Festival, even Iconn, what you're doing now, like how important is it for you as a businessman to understand who your audience is?
Well, I mean, that's important to any product, right? You have to know who you're selling it to. If you don't know your audience, then, it's with anything. It's with music, it's with retail, what I'm doing with Iconn. You have to know your consumer. And that was key to everything that led up to the disaster of Fyre Festival. Because Billy knew his consumer. He knew, Billy is a young, smart kid, a little socially awkward, wanted to be in the cool crowd. And he knows there's millions of kids just like him. He knew that. And he knew that they wanted what he wanted. The models, the lifestyle, the chill, hang out with the rappers. He knew that they wanted that too. And so he knew how to market to them. This is guys, you can come here and you can come to this beach and you can hang out with the models and hang out with the rappers, and this is gonna be amazing. And he wanted it to be that too. I believe he did, but he took bad steps in making his dream and my vision come to life.
Now let's talk about what you're up to nowadays. First of all, I want to say that from an outsider's perspective, the last 2 years seems like it was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of how many people, like you saw here in this room, almost everyone, not everyone here, saw the story play out, through the documentary specifically. But that in itself has almost in a way like elevated you in the public's eye. Again, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
Because not all of it is positive,
Yeah.
but the reality is attention is a commodity nowadays.
Well, I live in this world, right? I'm from the music business. Music business is subjective. You don't have to like jarule. So I knew that coming into my business that I'm in, so it's a crazy thing. But I look at the festival and I say, if it would have went off without a hitch, if it was everything that we wanted it to be, it wouldn't be this big. You guys probably wouldn't care or know about it. It would mean nothing to you. The fact that it was such a disaster put a spotlight on, I think, the whole festival business in itself. A little bit of a black eye, yes, but sometimes a spotlight is a spotlight. And sometimes you need the spotlight, no matter how it comes out to shine, so that you can show people just how great you are. And I think, this spotlight that hit the Fyre Festival and hit me, it was a black eye. it hurt. You know, it hurt because I wanted it to be an amazing thing. You know, but it is also now the most talked about thing. It's the most viral thing. It's the biggest festival that never was. So with that spotlight, you know, you have to use it to do the right thing, you know, and there's a lot of things that I'm doing now, steps going forward that, you know, that I'm taking to make things right in my eyes, for me, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to look at me in the mirror. I have to sleep at night. And so, you know, I'm doing things to just make things feel right for me, you know.
So I'm of the belief 100% that the comeback is more important than the setback. So what are you doing now to come back from what happened? Speak to some of your other business ventures.
Well, you know, I got a lot of business ventures, a lot of things that I'm into, you know, but the main thing I think that I did and I'm really excited about is I rebranded what was the app portion of Fyre to Iconn and rebranded it and built it out to what Fyre would have never even imagined being, which is amazing, you know, because, you know, what Fyre, the app started out to be was a booking platform. And what Iconn has grown to be is really a talent, a branding, monetization platform where, you know, any type of talent, you know, from artists to models to athletes to speakers to, you know, influencers, they can go on my platform and monetize their brand. And brands can also go there and monetize the talent, you know. So the way I've grown out the platform is very different from what it was, and it's really cool. And I think it's going to change the way we look at booking talent in the future.
Now, before we open it up to questions, Ja, I know that you have your rules of business.
Yeah.
Your 10 commandments, if you will.
Yeah.
So, like, what would be your top rule that you could share with this business audience here?
My number one rule in business is hire extraordinary people. And I know that it's probably an oxymoron after I went through the Fyre Festival, but that actually was a learning experience for me as well, to know that you have to have an extraordinary team. And the number two rule on that is, you know, listen to your employees. You know, I think a lot of people make the mistake of hiring a bunch of smart people to boss them around. And in my industry, coming from my background, which is the streets, I think it becomes an ego thing. You know, kind of like, you know, I wasn't the smart kid in school, but now I'm the boss, so listen to me, you know, and they hire these smart people to boss them around, and I think that's like the stupidest thing in the world. But that's just me, you know. But I have a great 10 commandments of rules that I believe in, you know, making great businesses and starting businesses. And, you know, a lot of it, some of it, you know, I've learned from the Fyre Festival.
So hire great people, have an extraordinary team around you, and if you get burned through the fire, then you'll be a stronger person when you get out.
Well, that's one of my rules on there too. Is, you know, you can't always in life you can't always, you know, control what happens, but you can control how you react to it. You can control the outcome. So that's one of my rules as well.
I've been on the come up, running to the ones go. Boy, I got that one up, hustle when the funds low. Sundown the sun up, all I want is the cash. Now homie, run me the stash, put the ones in the bag. Now count up, count up, count up, count up. I'm talking 1 milli, 2 milli, 3 milli, 4 billy, 5 billy, I'm illy. I've been on the come up, counting money till my thumbs hurt. No Birdman, bitch, but I'm a stunner. Just watch how you run up. I keep a couple gunners, I've been grinding all winter just to